the timing in which you present knowledge is more important than the level of knowledge that you present. Think about that for a second, because sometimes we may just want to tell everybody everything, because knowledge and truth has a power. It's like if you ever seen somebody, they have a movie where they introduce like a energy cube, and they like, yo, it's too powerful, you can't sustain it, you can't hold this, right? And everything, when you get knowledge is electrical, it's true. So some shit, when you learn about it, it's so powerful that you have to release it to let somebody know about it, right? They say, well, like when women develop at a younger age, you develop the emotional brain way more than young boys. And all of that emotional energy has to be released in the form of conversation. So you have to talk to somebody about your feelings, have to talk to somebody about the things you see, everything. That energy has to be released. The master learns to quiet that mind. Right? He learns to say, I will hold it for the right time. So I get certain information that I hold. I was talking to Rashad about this. I'm like, yo, great teachers, great personalities that seem to be extroverted are often the greatest introverts. And let me explain. Oftentimes you have to, like, I'm introverted. I can be in a house by myself the whole day and not miss nothing. By myself. Because when I'm with myself, I'm with my mind, and that's my greatest companion. We just be coming up with thoughts and kicking it together and be thinking about things in original ways and concepts and flows without outside influence, interruption, and interference. You dig? So I'm there with it. And then I will study something that sparks my mind and it gets me excited. And I'm like, oh, this one of them concepts. This one of them thought patterns that I got to get a world to. I was studying some stuff and it was talking about the electrical flow of the brain, right? Of the mind, rather, that our brain, the neuroscience was explaining, you can stick a hole in a part of a person's brain that has, control for motor function, right? They say they do this in kids or different patients at some point in time. They take out a piece of the brain. So let's say the piece of the brain is the prefrontal cortex, and this is responsible for focus. What they were saying is that what actually happens is that the brain is not rigid, where it just does, this will just do this one thing, this does this one thing, just was this one thing, this does this one thing. That over time, the other part of your brain will learn how to do the thing that this part of the brain did. And he was explaining that the brain is this electrical flow of system. And they even show a graph where it's like you have what they call locking and unlocking, right? And this is what I do when I give people keys. You give a person a key and you allow them to unlock a thought. And we have certain thoughts that we have in our brain that are locked based on our belief system, our faith, and who we think we are, right? And so new information and experiences can help you unlock those thoughts. And once you do is you reform new neurons that allow you to create new ways of thinking. So every single time you're giving yourself new information, new experiences. So when you wake up, and you go to sleep and you wake up, you become a new person because you think different. So you lock and you unlock. And this is what high level conversations is doing to people. It is taking your brain through a locking and unlocking process. Oh, you had them old thoughts. Oh, I was stuck on this thought. Now you got new information. You unlocked it. Now you lock back in new information. The brain's so powerful. It's an electrical system. It's a flow. And so sometimes you can get into a flow state where you just focus, you producing, you doing all the things you need to do. And it's because the brain goes through this flow where sometimes it's just in the right flow, right? The electricity is tapped into its highest form. The way I see with pictures, so like it makes sense for me, right? And I learned this in school. I got in trouble in math class. Shout out Jack Hella Classic. I got in trouble in math class. Math teacher was mad at me because she used to say, Mrs. Smith, I don't like her to this day. Mrs. Smith used to say, I used to get the answers right, but she would say I need to show my work. But the way I think is I see it in my head, right? Like I see numbers and they move a certain way and it makes sense to me. So I then come up with the answer. But in order for me to show you what I did, I would have to draw it out, right? Rather than write it out. So she'll be like, nah, if you can't show me the way you arrived to this answer and the way that we taught you to come up with answers, then you go fail. So I'm like, man, I don't got time for you. So I remember walking out the class a few times, like this shit ain't adding up. Pun intended. So that's when I realized, though, school was a scam. Because school only respected certain types of intelligence. There are at least 9 types of intelligence. There are a multitude of different personality types, different ways people see things, react to things. Our brains are not the same. We got different, we acknowledge that through astrology, right? Oh, you a Taurus, or you a Virgo. Well, why do you take all of the signs and teach them all one way? So therefore, one child, their thought process may be more about, I just like to follow along. I'm the greatest follower when it comes to instructions and memorization and duplication of those instructions and memorization. Another person may be abstracting certain information and then coming to a conclusion based on the way that they creatively think. They have the visualized processes. But there is no system for measuring this person's intelligence, their intelligence system, and saying that we're going to teach you how to form and develop this more. So therefore, you go through your whole life thinking you're not that smart, right? But what's not that smart is the system itself and its ability to be able to teach you to master the way that you think and your type of intelligence. So there is millions of people walking around today that don't even think that they're intelligent because the system was not designed for their type of intelligent mastery. Man, and it saddens me because I listen to people and I can hear their perspective and I talk to them like, oh, you're smart as hell. But if you judge Kanye West and Einstein and say who was the bigger genius, some people may say Einstein because they were taught by white America that the metric of genius, right, is one thing. It's this mathematical thing, but Einstein did thought experiments. He didn't have to prove. And now there's things about Einstein experiments that are being disproven. But he couldn't do what Kanye West did, and Kanye West couldn't do what he did. So to compare the two is disrespect to the type of genius that each one of the thinkers have. There's a genius that Mayweather has, right? That if you compare Mayweather and Kanye West, these are different. He may have spatial intelligence, physical intelligence, right? Because of his athletic genius. So you look at Cootie. Cootie was a genius because he had an intelligence of visionary. I observe possibility and potential, and I will record these observations for a later point in time for when my genius pays off. But who calls this person a genius in the midst of it or afterwards? You're only a genius in measurement when you're successful. And this is why a lot of people don't know. They don't know that they're a genius because they are labeling genius with the equivalence of success. And genius and success are two different things. So I really want everybody to understand that genius is what you have, the spirit you have connected to source and the creator that you can pull out and give and or show to the world. I really don't know a man that was so connected to his genius in the way that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was. Titles and labels are not dangerous like that. Everybody wants to run away from titles and labels. Everybody got to chill with this because words have different degrees. Genius is not God. Genius is just the infinity that everybody has. Genius is a natural right that you have as a human soul and a spirit. My bro, Human13 is a genius when it comes to coding in Web3. My brain type doesn't allow me to think in the same way that his does, but I recognize the infinity of his genius. My younger brother, Jack Hella Classic, he raps and composes music. And I can see the way his brain works to compose music in a certain type of way. And I said, oh, that's his genius. So it's this thing that you have. And it's not always got to be this high thing. It's just what you have. That's your genius. I want you to just think about that. It's just what you have. It's not that it has to give you $1 billion. It has to be awarded. That does not mean anything. Yes, those geniuses were awarded for their genius. But you may not get awarded for your genius. But that's only because we live in these capitalist structures that don't want everybody to realize who they are. And so what COVID did was it broke the matrix for long enough where people started to figure out, how do I align things as with my heart, my mind, and my soul, and my gut. And so once you jumped off the tracks, the whole world went through an unlocking period. Things that you thought you knew, things you thought you believed, you were on a circadian rhythm or off a circadian rhythm and got on it. You were on a time schedule and you jumped off of it. And now your brain had enough time to see things in a different flow. So now, by the time it was time to go back to work, you had unlocked and relocked in so many different thoughts. You were not the same person you were a year and 2 years ago. You are a completely different, mind. And mind is not the brain. The brain is not the mind. These are two different things. So once your brain has a different rhythm and flow to it in the way that you go about, you are different. He said, bro, put Supermind because he know I'm developing my Supermind program. Yo, when I put together this Supermind program, man, I can't wait. Y'all gonna love me for this one. This might be my best work. I was telling somebody, like, when I sell stuff, people are happy I'm selling stuff because if I come out, it's like when your favorite rapper come out with a new album. When I come out with a new course, that's how it's like. All right. When I come out with a new course, that's what it's like. It's like, oh, it's some more that he gonna give us. That's how it's like for me. Like, I don't always have to come out with a new course, right, every month or next month. Like, don't get me wrong, and I can make a lot of money by doing it, but I have to do it when I have a new genius to give. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's to me, it's like, yeah, your favorite rapper might drop an album. I might drop a new course for you. And it's like, once he get it, I can't wait for him to drop something. Because you know if you buy it, it's going to give you an unlocking. It's going to reprogram. It's going to give you an upgrade. It's a new system. It's going to give you a Supermind. It's different. What Lil Russell say, it's different over here. You did? Like, hey, man, I get happy talking about these things. Like this. People would be at, what do you do for work? You just be thinking and living it. Like, this makes me happy. Like, more than anything in the world, I can talk to a person and teach them something. Somebody say this, you know, somebody say this is non-humble godly talk. How is it? I mean, what does humble mean again? We don't even have to put it in terms of whether it's humble or just confidence. Confidence is more important than humility. Because if you don't have confidence, then what's the point of your humility? Think about that for a second. People will tell you to be humble more than they would tell you to be confident. We really tell people to be humble more than we tell them to be confident. Tell children that all the time. Make sure you just be humble with what you do. No, make sure you be confident with what you do. Because when you're telling a person to be humble, you're accusing them in the same way. I don't think she was hating, but she just said that and she got to my friend. You're accusing them, right, of every other time of being cocky. And when you're accusing a person of being cocky, you're saying that what you believe in yourself is not valid and true. So I would tell you to be confident. Be confident. Be sure about yourself at all times. I don't know the law of humility per se. I know the power of the act of humility, because humility is an act. You have to act humble. That's what when you tell somebody, they have to act it. Because it's not really real, because humility is lessening your importance in the eyes of others. But there is power in the strategy of humility applied. But it's also not overthinking yourself and allowing yourself to be in flow state. People come, Keys, you humble. I don't think about it. Why am I humble? Because I'm just being a human being? Nah. That hat is on Crown site. At Crown, it's the link in my bio. Why people say that? You so humble. Like, why am I so humble? I'm just being myself. But I'm not, when I approach people, I don't think about who I am in context to who they are and then treat them different because I believe something about myself. No, I'm confident in who I am, but I have no reason to bring that to you when I have a conversation with you. So when you feel like somebody is presenting themselves and then comparing them to you to be like, yo, that's like a person being like, yo, I know who I am. You got to talk to me a certain way. No, when you present royalty, people will speak to you as if you're royalty. So it's better to be confident in who you are, because then people will react in that same manner. I know who I am. I ain't got no reason to be cocky. I ain't got no reason to be anything other than who I am. So, when, like I said, I want to get back to what I started off on this talking about, this creative space that I'm creating, which is going to be amazing. It's called Mecca. A lot of this, we've been planning this. A lot of things I'm doing right now, I've been planning for months. This DAO, I've been planning for months. We are in recessionary times, but I think one of the worst things is to believe in the recession. And I'm going to tell y'all why. The recession it's an egregor. And y'all will understand what an egregor is after you watch this next high-level conversation. It's an occult secret that most will never tell you about. But once you believe in it, it attaches itself to you. It attaches to your mind. It attaches to your spirit. And what that does is has an effect on how you feel, how you think, and how you move. And so you have to be careful about what you believe, because the word itself, it seems like something people fear, right? And you're not supposed to fear anything besides what? God, as far as how I'm taught. So you have to be careful of these words that have this metaphysical power that if you believe in them, then they carry you along with them, because they become more powerful than your belief system. They become more powerful. You are more afraid of that than you are afraid of what you believe in previously, God. So now it becomes your God. Now you got the recession God over you. So you have to be careful with these things. You have to be careful with believing what society believes. It's the most dangerous thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, most dangerous thing ever. One of my favorite topics right now is blockchain. Blockchain tech. When you think about the word blockchain, it's not a malevolent presence or energy connected to it. It's not a negative energy connected to it. It's a hopeful energy connected to it, right? That you believe that this has the power to create, make, manifest change. What the world has the ability to do, the media, celebrity, all these things, they have the ability to take certain emotional energy and manifest it into the entity of words. So when you hear them or speak them, there's a connotation attached to it, a metaphor.